G'day viewers, something a little different today, and by different I mean it won't be for everyone, which is cool. Now a little while ago with Mistress M we started talking about issues like transgender, intersex, just people who don't fit neatly into box A or box B, male and female, and that generated quite a lot of interest among the viewership. I have to admit, I think I've said this before, I was really happy, even refreshed, enthused by the positive nature of the feedback. People were really putting some thought in and telling some of their story. One little thing that did make me laugh, you probably wouldn't have noticed this, I only noticed because I read all the comments. After the comments had been going for a couple of days and everyone had been giving their feedback, one person, I don't even know who it was, they put like a one-line comment, "Oh, how come every comment's like a paragraph long?" They're scared by people thinking on YouTube. I'm not scared by people thinking on YouTube, trying to encourage it. Now, if you're one of the people who just subscribed to me for the cheap laughs, that's cool. I'll be back to the cheap laughs directly, probably tomorrow, so don't worry. But this is, to broaden things a little bit. What we've ended up doing here, because once we raised the issues like transgender and intersex, it generated a lot of interest. Mistress M's actually done an interview with Katherine, who you'll see coming up. Katherine was, born male, but always believed herself to be female, and has gone through gender reassignment surgery. So Katherine's led an interesting life and has some very interesting stuff to share. Now, it is long, it's almost 25 minutes long, the interview. Katherine, because I did shoot the video, I'm not actually in it, I found it just compelling. I didn't even notice how much time had gone by when we were shooting it. Like I said, if it's not for you, either because of the subject matter or because of the length of it, that's cool. The intelligent thing to do would be to come back another day. The unintelligent thing to do would be to act like a dick. The rest of us can maybe play a little game called Guess What Angry Aussie's Going to Do to Someone Who Leaves a Stupid or Abusive or just intelligence insulting comment on this video. I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with "You're glocked, you Cupid trucking stunt." Okay, zero tolerance as far as I'm concerned. If you don't like it, you need to go somewhere else, because I have zero tolerance for you and I don't want you around if you're that stupid. Like I said, it's not your thing, either because of the subject matter or because of the length of the video. Come back another day. For people who actually have a brain and want to discover something interesting about someone who may have quite a different life to them, stay tuned. And hey, also, obviously, people who may have a similar life, people who may have gender identity issues in their life, hopefully you'll draw a bit of inspiration from Katherine's story, which is pretty impressive. So stay tuned right up now for Mistress M and Katherine, and I will see you again very soon.
Hello and welcome to Mistress M Interviews. And this week we're interviewing Katherine Wolfgram, who is a lovely lady who has agreed to join us and discuss her lifestyle and herself and who she is. And Boo is in the background this week and staying out of the picture, so excuse the little bells there. So, welcome, Katherine.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Oh, thank you. Really appreciate you coming along and talking to us. As you know, the reason we did this was because a couple of weeks ago on Mistress M we had a young girl write in and talk about her boyfriend's interest in transsexuals. So I tried to answer some of the questions for her, but obviously I don't know everything, and although I have some other friends who are, it's a very complex, very interesting area that so many of our viewers found really fascinating and wanted to know more. So I thought if we could actually get you to tell us a little bit about yourself, which can help all of us understand a little bit more, that would be great. So here you are. So I think the first question we'd like to ask is, when did you realise who you were? When you were growing up, when you were a child running around, how were you running around, and did you suddenly just go, nah, that's not who I am, I want frocks?
Transgenderism is a state of mind. I always believed I was a woman. I was told I was not a woman when I was 4 years old.
Right.
I found this out at Sabbath school, at Sunday school at church.
Oh, okay.
We were playing missionaries, and my Sabbath school teacher told me that I couldn't be the nurse because nurses are girls. And I said, I am a girl. And she said, no, you're not. And I said, I am a girl. And she said, no, you're not. And she took me outside and she shook me and shook me until I cried. And I learned pretty quickly not to say anything. But from that day forward, I knew that one day I would make a transition so that I could be the girl that's inside.
That you are, the beautiful woman that you are. And yeah, I nuns, there you go. I was left-handed and got beaten every day for writing with my left hand, so I think nuns are a bit whacked anyway. There you go. I think that's fascinating. That so you actually had to be told that you were a boy by this person, and that wasn't what you were.
Not in my heart and not in my soul.
Yeah.
I do believe, and this is from my own experience, is that it is possible to have the soul of a woman and the body of a man.
Mm-hmm.
And it is much easier to change the body than it is to brainwash the mind.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, myself, I've always known exactly who I am in my head, and if anyone had told me that I wasn't a famous actress when I was 4, I would have told them they were lying. So, but I was at a women's clinic the other day where I was talking to some women who'd had mastectomies and hysterectomies, and we talked about the fact that we were all still women, and it's got nothing to do with the body. So there are women who no longer have breasts, they're still women, very much so. It's got nothing to do with the outside package, in my opinion, and so therefore, absolutely, I can see how that can be. And the fact that society so much goes on the outside package and goes, that's what you are, that's what this is what you're meant to look like. I think it's great to break that, and if we can all understand that everybody's different, it would be good. So you're a child, you've worked out who you are, but the rest of the world hasn't caught up yet. So when did you start to tell the world to behave and come into your...
Well, starting from the age of, I can't even remember, but it was very early. I started looking at fashion magazines and catalogues, and I would always say to myself, when I become a girl, I'm going to wear that.
Right.
When I become a girl, I'm going to wear that. And so it was sort of, I had already evolved before I actually made a transition. Now, what happened was that when I was 17, I started going to St. Vincent's Hospital and having psychological assessment for a sex change behind my parents' back. But my mother, being, mothers are like, they have a sixth sense.
Oh, absolutely. About their daughters, they always know.
So on my 18th birthday, just after my 18th birthday, she sat me down and she said, you are now an adult. Your father and I have tried everything to change you. But this is the way you're meant to be. And if you want to become a woman, then we will stand by you. But you cannot become a woman at home. You're just in case it confused my brothers.
Right.
So I left home from there. My mother gave me a suitcase of her old clothes.
Oh, okay.
And then I went out into the world.
Wow. I found it interesting when you were talking about your mother, because I thought that's so accepting, but at the same time she still has her constraints about how it worked.
Actually, I'd actually like to take this time to thank Oprah Winfrey, because my mother actually, the week before, she saw a program on Oprah explaining that transgenderism had nothing to do with the child's upbringing or their parents,
Right.
which eased my mother's guilt. I
Right.
guess.
Well, that's good. See, Oprah's not all bad, people. She has helped a lot of
God
people.
bless Oprah.
There you go. Well, because the fact you were saying you went to Sunday school, then quite obviously your parents were religious, so it would have been even harder, perhaps?
Well, actually, I went to Sabbath school. My family are strict Seventh-day Adventists. Now, they're very strict.
Now, being a complete pagan atheist, I have no idea.
Well, they adhere to the Ten Commandments and all the laws of the Old Testament to the book. Seventh-day Adventist merely means they go to church on Saturday, which is the seventh day.
Right.
Now, I went to a Seventh-day Adventist primary school and a Seventh-day Adventist high school. I went to a public school for the final 2 years of my education because I wanted to further my arts education, which is not what the Seventh-day Adventist schools provide.
Right, yes, no, I can't see them being big on it's a lot of art, really. Being that most art has usually got a social and interesting commentary and doesn't always prescribe to nice iconic sort of images of the religious icons, yeah. So,
but I have to say, when my great-grandmother was still alive, she was very supportive. And even though she did not approve of my decision to change sex, she also believed that it was not the Christian way to turn a relation away. So the family accepted me, which I was very lucky for.
You're incredibly lucky, because I've heard many horror stories of, well, I mean, we all, I'm sure, have friends who've had something slightly different about their sexuality, whether it be that they're gay or bi or lesbian or transgender or transvestite or whatever it is, and families quite often don't accept it. So I give a big thumbs up to every family member that accepts people in their family being who they are. So yeah, that's good. So, but I like the fact you still felt the need to protect your brothers, just in case they freaked out.
Oh, well, just in case they decided that maybe they might.
Yeah, they got big. Hey, well, if older bros do it, I'm going there too.
But I'm glad to report that they are both perfectly healthy heterosexual men.
And gorgeous too?
And gorgeous.
No, lovely. Okay, so you're 18 now, you know who you are, your family's accepted. You're now living as a woman out and about in the real world. How do you find society accepting you? I mean,
Well, it's a funny, it is a good question, and the answer is not so cut and dry. I found that the more honest I was with people in general, the less I seemed to be hiding, and the more willing they were to accept me. And accepting yourself is probably the easiest and most gratifying way to be accepted by others.
yeah, I'll agree with that. I think that's, yeah. Because, yeah, people, if you're keeping a secret, people think you're keeping a secret. But I mean, also, with you, you obviously are, as far as I can see, a gorgeous looking woman. So a lot of people wouldn't know that you might have started out a little differently on your journey to becoming a woman. So obviously, if you wanted to, you don't have to tell anyone. And so it's also very courageous of you to even, you know, be happy to be interviewed now, to be open about that.
Well, to be perfectly frank with you, sometimes I get embarrassed by the way transgendered people are represented in the media. I don't know how A Current Affair does it, or those other, but they seem to find the wackiest people to represent the transgender community, and their view is only the view of themselves. And then again, you know, I only speak for myself and my own friends, because we all identify differently to different things. I'm very grateful that I had this opportunity to be Katherine, you know, and to live my life as Katherine. I mean, I couldn't imagine how unhappy I might have been.
And there are a lot of very unhappy people out there who haven't been able to find who they are, who haven't, from what I understand, there's people out there who never work out what it is that is making them unhappy because they never get the chance to work out that there are other options for them as a human, as a being. I mean,
the options, though, you need to be brave to pursue the options. I mean, you have to have, dare I say it, balls. And but yes, it's true. You have to, you know, you know who you are and stand up for who you are. But you always need to be conscious that you're not going to hurt anybody else, physically or mentally, in whatever path you choose to take. You know, so long as you're a good person and you're as good as you can be, you know.
Well, I think that's good advice for everybody. So we all try and be as good as we can be, but yeah, this is. Sorry, I guess I'm trying to say is I just think that, yeah, beyond just being transgender, there are people with all sorts of different types of personalities. I mean, I don't represent every straight woman on the planet, and
the transgender, the label of transgender is very. There's, you know, it's not just black and white. There are so many different facets to transgenderism. I mean, there's also people that identify as both or just one, or, you know, there's also women who identify as men, and then you know, it keeps getting bigger as different people wish to be a part of the community. So you know, like a few years ago, I guess you wouldn't consider a cross-dresser a transgender.
No.
But they identified themselves with that label.
Okay, right. I mean,
so it does get confusing.
Oh, it's incredibly. You've got transvestite, transsexual, transgender, male to female, female to male, hermaphrodites, people. You know, and there's hundreds of labels, and I think, again, that's something I'd like to make a point about, is maybe we could lose the labels a little and maybe just accept people for people and find out about each individual, rather than going, right, well, that person's straight, that person's bi, that person's dressing as a chick but doesn't actually do it all the time, so therefore they're that person's doing this. That chick's wearing jeans. Now, is she actually identifying as a male, or is she actually just a chick that's wearing jeans? Let's try, perhaps, to accept people for the individual rather than try and label and try and box people in. And because, I mean, for me, trying to understand all the people and all that, I can't. All I could do is accept them, and I like that idea that you try and accept people without trying to understand, and that was something that you said to me, and I took that on board, and I think that's a really lovely idea, that we don't have to understand everything, let's just try and accept it. So that was, yeah, I thought that was nice. So within the community, I mean, do you find that there are people who are narrow-minded?
With a little education, I think anyone can be understanding. To this day, I really, maybe they were narrow-minded before I'd met them, but how would I know?
Yeah, good point.
But they were very, they were very nice, and they were very lovely, and they came away, you know, knowing a little bit more, you know, and less narrow-minded, perhaps. That's if they were narrow-minded.
Yeah. There's a lovely lady we both know who works at the Prince of Wales, who I think has probably been a baptism of fire for a lot of people about learning to accept people, but sometimes she can be quite narrow-minded. My favourite anecdote about Renee, the lovely Renee Scott, is that she went up to a young man one day who was covered in tattoos and said, "What would your mother think?" He turned around and goes, "What did yours think?" So, I mean, we all have our own biases and our own opinions. And
I think, but that probably goes beyond transgender. I think everyone has biasisms, but I think that's them as individual people.
Yeah.
You know, we all in some way are biased about things, opinionated, and we have our own ideas on things.
Yeah, I can't stand blondes with big breasts. They just, for some reason, upset me.
But that's our right as human beings to have likes and dislikes.
Absolutely, yes, and it's purely just envy and jealousy. Don't worry about it. So yeah. Now we're about to go into an election with our first female Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, who is not married, but has, and quite disappointingly, in my opinion, not come out in favour of gay marriages. I don't even know where you stand when it comes to the legalities and to the whole thing. And would you even want to?
We in Australia are very fortunate that we live in a very free society where things are pretty much accepted so long as you know, it's not harming anybody else. Julia Gillard, I have to say, I am a great fan of hers. She is our first female Prime Minister, but also she explains things properly. When she defends herself, she speaks clearly, and we know exactly what she means, unlike most other politicians. With her stance on gay marriage, I do feel it's unfortunate. I myself, I'm not, you know, it's neither here nor there, but I do believe as a simple human basic right, all citizens in Australia are equal in all things. So if a gay couple who love each other wish to marry, I think that that is just a simple right for them to do so, and it's irrelevant as to whether I agree with it or disagree with it. I myself, I don't believe in marriage solely because I can't have children, and I think marriage is a very important moral to instill in your children. But because I can't have any, I just won't get married. I have been proposed to before, and that is exactly what I said.
Right. I actually have been married, and I completely disagree with marriage. It's an appalling idea.
Yeah. So,
and I can have children but choose not to.
Yes.
So again, I don't see the point either.
Yes.
But when you say you can't have children, now biologically, okay, I get that, but what about adoption? Would you consider that, or have you got too much going on with your art collecting and your pastry chefing in Paris and your...
Well, it would be an unbelievable dream to be a mother, and that is what it is. It's unbelievable, and also I guess I would stop myself. I know I'd be a great mother, but I also know, you know, in my heart of hearts, as a good mother, you know, you'd want to protect your child from all things, in and out of the playground. And I would not be able to live with myself if my child was punished because I was transgender.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'd just like to finish up by saying, for the people out there watching, for those who may possibly be transgender, do you have some advice about how they might want to go forward and how they might be able to find support and help in that?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to say that I feel for you, and I know that the journey ahead for you will be very difficult. I would suggest that you sought advice through the internet and through outreach. There in Australia, there are many facilities for transgendered people, whether it be shelter or medical advice and so forth. If you're in New South Wales, the Gender Centre would be a great place to start, or Teresia's house. If you're in Victoria, contact the Gay and Lesbian Rights Lobby, or you could go directly to MCV newspaper. Just a Google search under transgender outreach perhaps will get you in the right direction. First and foremost though, I must warn you that this decision needs to be true. Do not change your sex because you hate yourself, because you will still be the same whether you're a man or a woman. You will still hate yourself. Do this because you truly and utterly believe that you have the soul of a woman. Again, I do wish you luck and safe journey.
Thank you, Katherine, and thank you, guys. See you again soon.
Bye.
Bye. Have fun.